My name is Cameron Collier. I am a Naval Academy graduate, but also the chairman of Congressman Banks' Service Academy Advisory Board, which conducts the interviews for the nomination process. So we're here today with Cadet Third Class Renee Beaubien from Leo High School originally, now a sophomore at the Military Academy in West Point, New York. And you are a product of the 3rd District and having come through the application process, the nomination process for Congressman Banks. So we're excited to have you here, and you're here as part of an outreach program for through the administration, or I'm sorry, the admissions department at West Point. How did you first learn about West Point, and when did you know this is something you wanted to pursue?
So around the middle of my junior year of high school, I wasn't fully set on any college, but I was looking into just civilian colleges, and none of them felt quite right. My dad had suggested, hey, I know you still want to go to college, but you should really consider the military. I think it would combine a lot of your strengths into also getting a college degree. But the more I researched and the more I looked into it, I was like, oh, this is a life that I could see myself in. Also, I just felt a calling to something higher. My sister has Down syndrome, so that's always inspired me to serve for people that can't necessarily serve for themselves. That was a big motivation for me going to the academies, because I wanted to do something bigger than myself. And the academy provided the best way to do that.
Okay, excellent. That's really good. What schools do you know academically is West Point compared to?
I would say they're definitely compared to the Ivy Leagues, especially academically. And we also have all those military things thrown on top, so I would say they're better.
Yeah, you're getting a 5-year education crammed into 4,
exactly,
plus everything else.
Exactly.
So obviously you're right. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I think that a lesser known opportunity, but to be able to go and be challenged, and I love what you said about wanting to give back and serve and kind of be challenged in many different directions. Since you showed up in June of 2022, what was the most difficult, perhaps memorable or rewarding experience that you've had so far at West Point?
I'd say for me, air assault school was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. That was our 10-day period during the summer where you learn basic sling loads and rappelling out of Blackhawks, but it is physically and mentally grueling. And I didn't realize how tough it would be going in, but upon finishing and upon getting those wings pinned on, that was the most rewarding thing I've ever experienced, knowing I worked so hard to achieve something.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so I'm going to guess that leading into your junior year of high school, you never would have imagined that you would have done that.
I definitely would not have. It was, yeah.
Oh, that's great. What's a typical day at West Point like for you?
So we wake up, around 6:30. You'll have breakfast formation where they take accountability of everyone, and then you'll go to family-style breakfast where you get to talk with your classmates of all classes, share a meal. Then you head to classes for the whole morning. Those can be academic or physical education classes like I'm in now. And then you go to lunch formation, go to lunch, share another meal, and then you have classes all afternoon as well normally. Maybe you have a brief where you get some sort of outside speaker in and they present on something maybe in the big military or a leadership value. And then in the afternoon after that, you'll have your sports practice. So for me, that's Sandhurst. We'll usually do an hour or 2 of maybe like cardio or lifting weights, something along those lines. And then you're released for the evening to get dinner and study. And you're back in your room by TAPS, which is at 11:30.
What do you think one of the most differences between if you had just gone to a civilian institution, which there are great institutions and there are great ways for you to become an officer had you gone ROTC or OCS,
Certainly.
But what's the big difference that you see in your experience so far?
I would say the structure of the academy. So all of your time is generally accounted for by demands of the academy, whereas at a normal college you could skip class if you wanted to. No one has to know where you are on the weekends. You can do really whatever you want with your free time. At the academy, I would say you have a structure every single day. You're expected to be places, and if you're not, you will get in trouble.
You have an apartment out in town?
No, you live in the barracks all 4 years. You'll have a roommate or 2 all 4 years. But I think it honestly builds to that family culture that is at West Point and probably other academies too.
Because you have a squad that you're daily, your company and all the way down to the lowest level,
yes, sir.
Like 12 people, right? And you're working together, you're eating together, you're spending time together. Sometimes those are enriching times, and I'm going to guess that as a plebe, your first year, some of those meals were not very enriching, right?
Indeed.
But they were learning, right? Talk about the academics. Is it challenging? Is it as challenging as you thought it would be? What's been your experience there?
So they're definitely rigorous. I won't lie on that one. You're going to take like 19 to 24 credit hours per semester, which is definitely more than the average load of a student at a civilian university. But I think that the teachers provide really good support. Your class sizes are very small, so the most I've had in a class is maybe 16 to 17. And the teacher is more than happy to provide one-on-one assistance whenever you need it, read over your papers, help you out with whatever. And they also just offer a wide variety of courses for your majors and minors, whatever you want. They probably have something to fill that.
So, military professors, what's the breakdown there? You have civilians that there?
So mine right now is about a 50-50 split. I have a couple civilian professors and a couple military professors. Most are military. Most of the heads of the departments and stuff are military. But I think it's a good mix, and I think it's interesting to have those civilian professors that sometimes bring an outside perspective.
So you're getting exposure to the different areas that you can serve within the Army throughout the 4 years, and upon graduation, you obviously an advanced degree from an Ivy League institution, caliber institution, and you also receive a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army. What is it that you would like to do upon graduation?
I'm hoping to branch aviation and go to flight school upon graduation to learn how to fly either hopefully the Chinook or the Black Hawk. But if that doesn't work out, then field artillery is looking like my second choice.
Yeah. Regardless, 100% job placement, though.
100% job placement, yes, sir.
With good benefits as well.
For sure.
What is the requirement, the minimum requirement to serve upon graduating?
5 years.
5 years.
Duty.
And aviation would be a little bit longer?
Aviation would be a 12-year service commitment.
I always tell everyone there's multiple things that have to happen to come in to be able to receive an appointment, right? There's the admissions requirements through the institution themselves, but you do have to receive a nomination from a congressional source. So obviously having come through the 3rd District and met with our team and being interviewed and receiving a nomination from Congressman Banks, what's something you wish you would have known during the process, not just the nomination, but the application process as well?
I would say I wish someone told me to just not get overwhelmed and to just work on taking it chunk by chunk, because there's a lot of pieces to the application process and it looks very, very daunting at first. And that's why a lot of people don't get in, because they end up not finishing the application because it just looks too overwhelming. So I wish someone had sat me down and said, hey, just go little bit by little bit, it's going to all get done, and just take it piece by piece. Because it's very easy to get yourself really stressed out over this application process. And
when should somebody start the application?
I would say the earlier the better. The earlier you know that you might want to attend West Point, it's worth it starting that application, because it does take a while to get all these pieces into place. I started as soon as it opened my junior year, and the quicker you work and the more progress you show in your application, the more likely they are to see that you really want to go there.
Yeah, so that's what we typically encourage as well, is kind of in the second semester of your junior year, and when that opportunity arises, you open that up. You'll be assigned a candidate number and working with the admissions department directly. But yes, there are lots of things that you have to get in line, and maybe there's a delay, right? Maybe there's something that needs to come through, and so being able to start earlier is obviously much better. So the nomination process, you had to submit an application directly to the congressman's office, and then you were invited to an interview.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that. As far as those who might be considering this, what do you think they should do to help prepare for the nomination process?
So for the process, I would say get your packet submitted quickly, and then start prepping for that interview. For the interview, for me, I worked on a lot of practice interviews with my dad. I would write up a lot of lists of questions, go through those, make sure I was hitting all the points I wanted to hit. But another thing that I found helpful was kind of thinking back and coming up with a list of challenges or things that I had faced and overcome that could kind of be generalized to answer any sort of question that they would throw at me. So instead of working to answer specific questions, I was kind of thinking bigger picture, like what points do I really want them to know about me before I leave this interview? And I found that pretty helpful.
Yeah. I often say, and you may remember this, but the application itself kind of tells us what you did and how you did it. And our hope during the interview process is to help to know who you are and why this is important to you. What about the interview itself? So there's a preparation for the interview, but in the actual interview itself, what was your biggest advice that you could give to somebody?
I would say be genuine. be yourself and show that you really want to attend the Academy. Don't put on some fake personality, come in there and expect to get the nomination. Also, pay attention to small things like handshakes, eye contact using yes sir, no sir, small things like that that are going to show that leave a good impression on the people interviewing you, that just show respect.
And we're not scary people, are we?
No, sir.
All right. How would you go about finding information on the whole application process?
So I looked a lot online, and I found a really helpful website. It was called Service Academy Forum. So people would post questions on it, and then old grads or current cadets would answer those questions, and that was very helpful in prepping for the nomination process or just the application in general. There's also a lot of YouTube videos out there from old grads, cadets,
Sure.
That will give you a lot of good information. And the field force representative I also found super helpful in prepping for all of these things. They were full with a lot of good information.
Yeah. So to clarify what that is, so most of the service academies have a local representative or two that work through the admissions department, and some of them have either experience as a graduate themselves, or in your case they had children that went there, so they were very familiar with the process, but they're there to help you guide you and answer questions for you, right? So it's an excellent resource that they provide. So
Certainly.
Had a pretty big win a couple weeks ago for Army football.
Oh, that was a big win.
Yeah.
Felt good.
Over who was that?
Air Force.
Okay.
Ranked team.
A ranked team. In a couple weeks, there's another big
game.
Yeah.
Navy, down
Navy.
in Foxborough.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. So obviously I'm going to be for the Navy, but understand. So you get to go to that though.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was your experience like last year?
Oh, that was an incredible time. Double overtime for the first time. And then I always remember storming the field after and just getting carried down, and just, it was insane.
Is it so much the beating the other team, or is it the camaraderie that you have with everybody that's there?
I think it's the camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Even just seeing all of the Navy cadets there too, it's just thinking about how cool it is that all of us, have signed up to serve our nation. Something about that just gives me chills. That's so cool.
Yeah. Why should somebody do this, I guess?
Why? I would say it's such a unique opportunity that you're not going to get anywhere else. And if you have the desire to go to a service academy and you have the desire to be an officer, this is a fantastic route. And I think that the connections also upon graduating from a service academy are just lifelong. Because from now on, any West Point or really any service academy graduate, I'll have an immediate connection to, and those are just connections you can't replace. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That is true. Well, we really do appreciate your time.
Of course.
You covered a lot of different points, really good information, and obviously the Congressman's office is a resource as well.
For sure.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, sir.